Well, good afternoon and welcome back to another live iThemes training event. My name is Nathan Ingram and I'm the host here at iThemes Training, and we are joined today by our resident SEO expert, Rebecca Gill. And Rebecca has a really interesting topic to bring us today, all about YouTube SEO. There's a lot you can do to optimize your YouTube videos so they appear correctly in searches and can help get a lot of traffic not only to your YouTube video, but also to your website. And so Rebecca's going to talk all the way through that subject with us today. Our chat room is live over at ithemes.com/chat. ithemes.com/chat. That's the best place to get your questions answered. And if you're just joining us, maybe this is your first or maybe a new one of your first webinars here with us here at iThemes Training, we do not use the GoToWebinar questions feature. We have our live chat room. That's the best place to answer or get your questions asked so we can answer them and then join on the conversation throughout the webinar as well. And again, that's live over at ithemes.com/chat. And as you have a question, it's really helpful to me if you will preface your question by the word question in all uppercase. And I'll save those off to the side and feed those to Rebecca when we get to that point of the presentation. So it's all about YouTube SEO today. And again, yes, thank you, Go Cozumel. There are the slide handouts will be made available after the presentation today. So you don't have to worry about writing down lots of stuff while Rebecca is talking so you don't miss what she's saying. We'll make all those slides available for you after. The webinar will also be available on replay for those of you who are iThemes Training or Toolkit members. It'll be in the training library, and we'll give you that URL at the end. And actually, for all of you today, you'll be able to access that in the iThemes Training library. We'll give you that link at the end of the webinar as well. So, with all that said, Rebecca, we're super happy to have you back with us today and looking forward to the ins and outs of YouTube SEO.
Thanks, Nathan. I am happy to be here. So before we jump into the actual slides and optimization content, I just want to take a couple of minutes to kind of walk through what a channel is and the elements of a channel, because I will admit that YouTube can be very overwhelming when you first come in to try to set stuff up. And I literally avoided it for a really long time. I started to embrace it a little bit last year, and I set up this channel and I customized it and I started to add in content. And if you dig into my channel, and we put the link out into the webinar chat, you're going to notice it may look like I've got a whole ton of stuff out there, which I do have quite a few videos, but nothing in my channel is actually really created specifically for YouTube. And that's because I'm not one of those young YouTubers who love seeing themselves on video. It actually makes me cringe. Hearing my voice online makes me cringe. And when I go to record a video myself and I see my face, I would rather go to the dentist and have a root canal. So what I've actually done with my YouTube channel is I've repurposed everything from the training videos that I'm doing with iThemes to WordCamp presentations to my SEO Bits podcast. There's a lot of things that you can do with YouTube besides just organic YouTube video. So as I walk through this presentation today, keep in mind that idea and think about what else you could repurpose yourself to create a nice thick YouTube channel like I did without having to spend tons and tons of time creating, fresh video. It is amazing what you can do in this internet world, and I'm a great proponent of repurposing content. So the basics of the channel is, this is connected to my regular Google profile because YouTube is owned by Google. It brings in my profile image. I was allowed to set up a custom banner, which I use the logo for my name. You can set an intro video. So this will appear to those people that don't yet, let me do this real quick because I don't know if you guys can all see this or not. So let me make this wider. So this is an intro video that you can set so that the first time someone comes, if it's a new video or it's a new visitor and they're not subscribed, you can have this video automatically start playing for them. And it doesn't even actually have me in it. It's just kind of a little video that I created on a third-party app. Gives a little welcome message. I link over to my Rebecca Gill site, which people can find out about me. At the top, you can have links, a primary link, which is, again, this guy right here to my main personal site, and then some other sites like I have, like my courses, the podcast, and then our digital agency that does design and consulting. So then when you come down into the channel, I've set this up so that I have playlists. So this is a playlist, this guy's a playlist, this guy's a playlist. And basically what I'm doing is I'm just bucketing up my videos so it's easy for people to find and, you know, kind of filter through my channel, but it also, they can appear in SEO as well, and, you know, and searches. So the first one I have is in-person WordCamp presentations that I do, and when those get published up to WordPress TV, I download them and I repurpose them, and I did check with the organization, and they did say that that was acceptable. Then I have one that is my podcast, and actually I found a service that takes the RSS feed from my SEO Bits podcast that I do weekly. It automatically creates this nice little video presentation and ports it right into YouTube for me, so I don't need to do anything. I just set this service up and it's taking care of it for me each week, which is amazing. So then the next one is just like training videos that I do for iThemes. And notice that I have SEO training webinars. You know, I've got a nice descriptive title for this. And then this is just a bucket of all of the videos I've been doing for the last year or so for iThemes. So I'm kind of repurposing that content that I give to the iThemes audience for free. And then this last one are ones that either I've uploaded or I've tagged, and they're other people's podcasts where they've had me on for interviews. You know, I didn't really have to do anything for this, but again, it helps augment my channel, and it helps highlight my expertise if someone were coming to hire me. And I have had a number of people say that they did watch these and they did, you know, have an opportunity to see a video, and it made them want to hire me because they could see something more than the written word. So, you know, I throw that out there because I think video is important. There's a lot of people who truly love a video and really find it a better means of communication for them. My husband is one of them. I like to read, but he loves videos. And that's the nice thing about having like blog posts and pages that are text-based, and then having podcasts for audio and people on the go, and then having videos for people that like that type of communication. So don't discount video if you've never done it before. Hopefully I've showed you that you can repurpose existing content and actually create a really nice profile and a platform to be able to present things. Now, when you go into any of the videos, you're going to see a couple of data points. So one is the title. One is this description. You complete this description. You can have links in this description. We'll be talking about that. Then you can also utilize this share guy right here to bring that content or the video out and share it on social media or within a blog post or a page on your website. You can add it to playlists and things like that. And then people who come to your site can vote you up. They can leave comments, and then they can favorite. So there's a number of different things that features that YouTube has, and all of this starts to work together into the algorithm, and we'll start going through that. So that's just a little bit of an overview. I just wanted to cover it real quick. So, you know, y'all had a feel for what is available within the YouTube channel, and, you know, the elements that we're going to be talking about with optimization. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to bring him over a little bit, and then I'm going to bring up the presentation. And I know people might have smaller screens, so I'll try to make this as big as possible. Okay, so let's just jump in. So as Nathan was saying earlier, and stealing my thunder, YouTube is the second largest search engine outside of Google. It is a Google property. Google owns YouTube now. Google also takes those YouTube videos and can bring them and put them into the regular search engine results page. So when you upload a video into YouTube, you have two really big opportunities for this to stand out. One is within the YouTube search engine, and then one is on Google itself. YouTube has 1.3 billion users. That equals 1/3 of the entire internet population. That is huge, which means it's a huge reach. You can, I mean, it's a massive amount of people. Every day, 5 billion videos are watched on YouTube. And every minute, over 300 hours of video footage is uploaded. And then the last data point is more than half of YouTube videos are viewed on mobile devices. And that really is in line with what Google has been saying. You know, Google has that more than half of the activity on Google today is on mobile. In 2018, Google is going to a mobile first index, and that is because they are seeing mobile usage grow and grow and grow. And as we all have data plans, at least in the US, and we have lots of bandwidth, we are using the mobile device more and more to watch videos. Okay, so the YouTube algorithm, yes, there's an algorithm, just like Google and other search engines. It has a number of data points. It does work similar as a regular search engine would and take into account a number of items, but it takes into account additional data points that you wouldn't necessarily see. So let's walk through these. So the first one is freshness and frequency of the channel itself. And I showed you my Rebecca Gill channel. That's what I mean by that. My account and my listing of all my videos. So just like Google prefers your website to have fresh content, YouTube wants your channel to have fresh content. That gets taken into account. Click-through rates is as a data point. Just like regular Google, Google looks at your click-through rates from that search engine results page to see how many times you show up and how many people actually click on you. That's why your meta titles and descriptions are important. YouTube's doing the exact same on their search results. So you want to make sure that your titles and your titles are captivating and they entice people to click through. Your channel authority and your subscribers. Now I have like 200 subscribers on my YouTube channel. I haven't done really much to bring that number up, but it does grow, and the more content I add, the more people subscribe. The more I do things like this and have an opportunity to show or share my channel, the more my subscribers grow. Video content is the next one. It's a huge portion, and we're going to be going through these in more depth. Title and description, the tags, the file name, and the length, all very important. Next one is transcripts and closed captions. So basically, what is the written word of your video? Watch time. So how long does the average visitor sit and watch your video? Do they abandon it within the first 10 seconds, or do they stay until completion? That actually goes into the algorithm and it's all of this data is allowing YouTube to go, okay, this is a quality video. Since they don't have someone watching them manually, they're using these data points to figure out whether the content you are producing is of value, is considered high quality by users, and if that is the case, they want to present you in those results and they want to push you out in front of the user base. Engagement, votes, so those vote ups, favorites, post watching, or excuse me, video watching, post subscriber, comments that people leave, all of those go into that algorithm. Inbound links, just like on our regular websites that Google's taking into account, so is YouTube. Are you linking into your video from somewhere else? Embeds, like just taking it and embedding it into a page or a post, and then social shares. Are people sharing, commenting, liking your content on things like Facebook? Okay, so YouTube SEO, just like anything else that I've ever preached to you about SEO, is going to start with some good research. You thought you might have gotten away from it with YouTube, but you're wrong. I'm going to preach it again with this on my soapbox. So you have to have some type of idea of what you want to target with your video, right? What kind of phrase would somebody search for to potentially find your video and be able to watch this content and solve their problem? That starts with considering who's coming to watch it, like who's your visitor, who's your target market, what are their needs and pain points, and how can you help them solve these problems? When you start thinking about phrases that relate to that, your visitor and their issues, then you're going to go and you'll look for search volumes, see if anybody else looks for those phrases. You do the same thing that you would do with regular content. The next thing you can do is you can start looking to see if that phrase can easily be weaved into a video title and description, because that phrase may sound great, but if the English is chopped up, or you're in your own natural language, if it's chopped up and it doesn't have good grammar, you need to abandon it and find something that has better grammar that you can easily weave into a title and a sentence. And then one thing to do before you finalize your focus phrase is to think about how it relates to the way YouTube has auto search. And so auto search runs just like Google. As you start to type something in the YouTube search box, YouTube starts generating automatic phrases for you. look at those, get a feel for those so you can understand what Google, or excuse me, what YouTube is doing so that you can try to maximize on that. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the file name. So the file name should include your keyword phrase. This is the name you've given your video file on your hard drive in your computer before you ever upload it into YouTube. You want to make sure it describes the content, and you want to make sure it has your keyword phrase and it's got hyphens to separate the words. Not very big technical challenges there, but it's just some basic things that you should be cognizant of in doing while you're preparing your video for upload. The next thing is the title. We want to make sure that your keyword is going to be within the title. The video title has one of the most, the highest factors for getting your video ranked. So it needs to include your keyword phrase. You want it to be relevant to the content itself. And if possible, you want to limit it to 100 characters. So like in regular search, we know that when Google displays your content in the search engine results page, it has a cap, right? It's like 55 to 65 characters it's going to show, and then you're going to start getting truncated content, and you really don't want that to happen. You want the most important things to be displayed. So consider that same type of thought process when you're writing your titles. The difference is for YouTube, it's 100 characters, so you have a little bit more length. But like I say right below that, it's going to truncate it at 66 characters. So your full video title can be 100 characters, but it's going to truncate it in search to 66. So keep that in mind. Keyword you definitely want within that 66 to make sure it's showing when people are looking for your content and you're being displayed in results. Descriptions. Very important as well. Again, you want it to include your keyword phrase, just like you would want your meta title and your meta description on pages and posts to have your keyword phrase. You need to spend time crafting a description that actually describes the video and gives your reader, as well as YouTube, a good idea what they're going to be getting when they watch the video. I will admit, when I started uploading content to YouTube, I did not spend any time on this. Sometimes I would forget to do this entirely, which was an error on my part, and I fixed that because I just was not thinking at the beginning of YouTube as SEO, and it really is SEO because it's a search engine all on its own. Now, to be able to really make some progress with your video and search, you want to make sure that your description is at least 300 to 500 words. And that's so it can provide a solid overview of what the video is and so that everybody can understand what it's about. You can definitely go longer in descriptions, but make sure that that's kind of like your minimum is that 300 to 500 so that people, get a really good feel for what it is. And if you're looking at my channel, you're going to see that I don't have that, and I got to go back and fix that. I failed with that. Okay, so the next one is make descriptions easy to read by using shorter paragraphs and lists and things like that. Again, just like, if YouTube is on mobile getting used more than anything, just like when we write for mobile web, we want it to be easy to read, and this is no different. So the last thing is include relevant links to really just augment the content there and provide greater value to your visitors and to your watchers. There's not like a limit on the links that you can provide, but you want to make sure that they're truly relevant to the video and the content and being able to provide value to your watchers. So video tags, you don't see them as a visitor. So like when you go to my video or my YouTube channel, you're not going to see my tags. But those tags are still in the source code and they're still getting used by YouTube to figure out what to show and what to rank. So while they're not visible to the humans, they still make a difference. So you want to add tags. You can use lots of tags. You can use 10 tags if you want. You don't want them to be spammy, of course, but you want to, again, provide as much information to the search engine so that and YouTube so they can figure out what your stuff's about. Make sure that they're relevant. Don't throw kind of off. So if I'm talking about SEO and maybe KW Finder or SEMrush in a video, I don't need to be talking about Viagra in my tags because that's not going to be relevant, and it's going to make my video look like spam, which certainly will probably discount me in that algorithm and then push me further down the search stream. Again, you can add as many as you want. Just don't make sure they're just not spammy. And then one thing to note, and as I was doing my research for YouTube, singular and plural make a difference with YouTube. So you want to make sure that if you have a tag that would really be relevant to both the singular and the plural vision, you want to use the same. So hot dog versus hot dogs. You know, some of the time, or a lot of the time, there isn't a plural version that's relevant or a singular version. But if there is, you want to make sure that you include it in your video. So closed captions is another area where I will admit I'm lacking because this takes time. So closed caption is basically just transcripts. It's the text of what is said inside your video itself. Now, YouTube does create these automatically, but they're not great. And in fact, the more research I did on it, the word that kept coming up was suck. That's what everybody was saying. They're like, YouTube makes them, but they suck. You can't rely on them. And this was another factor that, you know, all of the experts were saying did have a big impact on that algorithm. So, you know, if you've got an important video that you really need to make sure gets out there and you really want to rank in search, you need to make sure that you take the time to have that closed caption attribute added, and that you create a manual version of your transcript and you upload it into your video as a text file. And everything I've read and researched said that it will make a major impact on you. And I know that that's the one thing that we don't want to do, because it does take time, or it takes money, because you have to hire a service like Rev to do that for you. But it will make an impact if you're relying on YouTube search and you really need to make sure that your videos are getting presented. Okay, so the next guy is promote and share. Now, just like with regular SEO, and we talk about, you know what, you've gone through all this process, this keyword research, you've looked at your competitors, you mapped out stuff, you write your awesome content, you got it nicely formatted in WordPress or your CMS, and you finally hit publish and you're like, whew, I'm done, right? We all feel like that. Well, you're not done, because just like regular content that you're trying to get into Google, you have to share it. You have to really do some outreach. And so here's some of the things that you can do to promote and share your video. So you can link to it from external sites like your own website or your own blog. You can share it on social media sites. You can embed it into pages and posts. You can bet that when I upload something to YouTube and I think it's good, I'll make sure that I write a blog post about it on my Web Savvy site. I will embed that video, and then I will also sometimes share that video on social media sites if I think it's relevant, because I do know that that makes an impact, right? And I want to get as much visibility on that video as possible. And think about it, the more times that you're embedding that and sharing it, the more data points that YouTube can collect, whether it be likes or people actually coming to YouTube, which I do a lot when I see stuff on social, and actually upvoting that for you. So you can use those videos in training courses or secondary materials. I do that for sure. Encourage others to link to it, just like you would with any other content on your website or blog. Now, I'm not encouraging you to send out cheesy, spammy emails that go out to 1,000 people to say, hey, I just posted this wonderful YouTube video. Could you link over to it? I don't like those, because I get probably 20 of those a day myself. And it's really frustrating to me to have to weed through that. And I tell you, there's not one opportunity that comes through that I actually follow through and do what they've asked me to do. The only time I will ever do that is at someone that I personally know that reaches out. And then I'm like, yes, of course, I will promote your content. So yeah, so that is not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying if you've got known connections, people who are in your network, and you share and you help promote each other, those are the people that you reach out to, and you let them know about your content and you ask them to share it with their networks. And then again, just encourage likes and favorites and comments. And if people are commenting on your videos, comment back. Keep that dialogue going with them. Make sure that you are keeping everybody as engaged as possible. Okay, so now let's go back. So I went through a lot of the different areas. Let's go back to my YouTube channel. And if we look at my YouTube channel, am I doing it right? Have I been doing what I've preached? Well, I'll be honest with you. In some cases I am. Like I said, I did make sure like that when I first started setting up the channel, or excuse me, the playlist for this guy right here, which is the podcast, I just had SEO bits. Which, guess what? That doesn't tell the visitors that are coming to this channel that it's podcast, nor does it tell the algorithm that this is about podcasts. And then I made sure that In my description that you can add for the playlist, I put podcast again. Now, you might be wondering, because this guy right here is one that is auto-fed into my YouTube channel from a third-party software app that I just located. Is it duplicate content? Because really, this is already being shared on, first and foremost, it is on the SEO Bits FM website. So each episode has its own URL and its own show notes that's associated with it. It gets fed over to iTunes, it gets fed over to Google Play, and now it's getting fed over to YouTube. So is it duplicate content? It's not really duplicate content because it's not giving the full show notes. It's only giving that little overview that shows up with the feed. And the nice thing about this is it automatically links back to the individual show notes. So anytime a visitor sees this, or like Google, for example, sees this, they're knowing who has the true original content because there's a link back to it. And so if you are going to do something like this, you need to make sure that you do that. And I do take the time when I upload my podcast to Libsyn, which is the feed. I always make sure that that podcast file links back to the show notes. And that's because I want to protect the SEO Bits website, and I want Google to know that that podcast is originating from that place. So when you follow those steps, you don't have duplicate content. You're just helping, get a greater exposure for your content. I do make sure that, like when I do the training videos for iThemes, that I have a really good description with them, and I try to use, for consistency, and this is more for, so you guys who are on these videos and are coming to look at them, so you can find them quickly, I try to keep the descriptions to them in sync, because I don't want to have one description here and a completely different description and what we actually had for the webinar, because I know that that will be difficult for you. And so I definitely try to lock that down and make sure it's uniform. When I do my WordCamp presentations, I use again, the same title, and I do bring in a description to make sure it is telling people exactly what this is about and then where it was at. And when I'm doing that, I'll use tags like WordCamp, like, Dallas WordCamp, WordPress, and things like that to make sure that it does get as much exposure as possible. You do have the ability to set up an about yourself. And I've made sure that the description I have here doesn't just highlight what I want to be known for in YouTube. I'm also using words that I want to be connected back to my websites, right? Because this profile is linking over to all of the other properties that I own. I am reinforcing those major keywords that I'm referencing on those sites here, because again, I'm trying to let Google and YouTube understand the whole of me, right? I am an SEO consultant. I do provide SEO coaching and consulting. I do have an SEO podcast now. And so I'm reinforcing those phrases that I've used, that I've picked as my major keywords. So when you are doing your optimization, remember, it's not just optimization of the individual videos, it's optimization of your profile as well. And it's so you can give back to your actual website or blog. Okay, let me see what else I want to cover with you. You do have stats in here too. So when you are looking at your channel, and I'm trying to remember where they were at, because I will give you some good information that the YouTube interface is a little bit challenging. I found the stats earlier, and now I don't even remember where they're at. They're there maybe. Okay, so here's my stats. So why am I showing you the stats? Because we're talking about optimization. Well, just like any other content, you really need to be able to pay attention to these stats so that you can see what's working, right? You want to know, like, for example, what are my most popular videos? You know what? Is it what SEO really matters in technical SEO? I have to ask myself, okay, so if that's getting the most watch time or the most views, because you want both. Remember, we said that this was really important, right? Ask yourself why. Is it, did you optimize it better? Is it better content? Is it longer? We know longer videos do matter. Think about those things, because you really want to look, just like I've preached before with the process, you want to say, okay, what's working? And now let me reverse engineer to figure out why. Did I share one on Facebook other than another? You know, just like, so there's so many different things. And here's how you know what's important to YouTube. So we've done videos before with Google Search Console, and I've told you that when Google Search Console gives you data, it's important, right? We know it's important because Google's giving you this information and it really wants you to use this information to make better content. Well, let's look at all the analytics I have in YouTube, right? I have watch time reports and watch time and audience retention. I have traffic sources. So there's my watch times, average duration. I've got traffic sources. So now I can see where is that activity coming from? Playlists, is it it's external, the YouTube search, suggested videos, all really good information, again, so I can reverse engineer what's working and try to dig in and learn more. Because the more you sit and you look at your content and what you have, just like regular pages and posts, the more you do that, the more you can learn what works, and then you can repeat that and continue to improve yourself and make it better. Remember I said earlier that engagement makes a difference. Subscribers, likes and dislikes, videos, the comments, sharing, all that stuff. You know, you're looking at this information. We know, since YouTube is giving it to us, it's validating what I'm saying here, that this really matters, that we need to make sure that we're paying attention to all of these metrics, because it's not just the keyword, it's not just the title and the description, it's a holistic view of your videos. Okay, so that was the amount of content I wanted to go through today. I know that this is a shorter webinar than I normally have, but when we usually do webinars, it's a much greater topic. So I am happy to go through any questions y'all have on YouTube optimization, because we do have quite a bit of time left today, or at least the block time that we had. I certainly don't need to keep you for a full hour if we don't have questions to go through. So Nathan, do we have any questions from people that they want to hit?
Oh, we have plenty of questions.
Okay.
So let's dive right in. The first few questions here are related to resources that you mentioned at the beginning. George wants to know what software you use to create your intro video.
Okay, that was, it's called Bitly. I think it's called Bitly. It's this guy right here. Or Biddable, I'm sorry. So you can do a free count with this Biddable software. I paid for it for a year, but you can do a free count, and it's got all of, you can bring in videos together, and you know, you can put in text and little cute characters and things like that, and create these really cool videos, and it's all super easy to do. And if you want to get advanced, you can actually purchase the software. But I will show you one of the videos I did with this, which people were like, how'd you do that? Because I don't really have like these mad skills. So let me see. I'm telling you, I'm having difficult finding my videos. Hold on. Let me get to the playlist. Bear with me one second. Okay, so this guy right here, this SEO bootcamp, he's actually, so whoever asked that Bitly or Biddable question, watch this video because you'll see the things that I did with it. It basically is taking the interviews, some individual interviews from SEO bootcamp participants, and I blended them together to create like a nice video that I could plop on the SEObootcamp.com site. Great resource. I have given that one out a few times. Nathan, what was the other one that they were looking for?
Yeah, a few more. The first, let's see, we talked about the intro video, and I just dropped that link in the chat room, biteable.com. Cam wants to know what service that you use to create the video from the podcast feed.
Okay, so that was Repurpose, I think, .io. And what I'll do is I'll post it in the SEO Launchpad group later on today because I got to look it up. I just found that this morning. So once I found that this morning, because it's something that I've been wanting to do, and I thought to myself, I need to make this happen because we're doing the YouTube video and I want to show it. So I brought in all of these guys automatically from the last 3 months of podcasts I've been doing. And you'll see that when I go into it, it shows, it takes my podcast cover, right? Brings me and attaches it to this nice little background. I don't even have to do that. and then automatically brings in my overview from my RSS feed and then points back to my show notes so that people can quickly see where the show notes, where the video comes from, and then they can get, like if I have, like the other episodes has downloads and things like that, people can easily get to this right from YouTube. You can try it out and you can bring in 4 videos for free. And then if you want to subscribe to it, it's $12 a month. And I will find the exact URL when I get off because I didn't save it since I just did it like 2 hours ago. And I'll post it in the SEO Launchpad group. Great service, by the way. I mean, it took me like 3 minutes to set it up, and then it took itself an hour to go back and pull 3 months worth of podcasts. So super promote that service. And I actually already sent it over to Carrie Dills. As soon as I found it, I'm like, oh, good Lord, girl, you got to see this service I just found.
That's awesome.
I know, it is awesome. Can you tell I got excited over it?
So the link to Rebecca's Facebook group, where she will be sharing that link, is there in the chat room, facebook.com/groups/SEO Launchpad. Join that group if you haven't. It's free to join, and you can join in the conversation there. Lots of good resources are in that group. Another resource question, what do you use for your podcast feeds? Lip something?
Oh, yeah. So that's this guy right here. So I'm like the ones that I already have bookmarked. So that is this guy right here. It's Libsyn. And this was a Carrie Dills recommendation because everybody knows she's my BFF and she's got lots of experience in podcasts. So I went straight to her and I said, okay, what do I got to do? And I started using the service, and literally they start at $5 a month. And I think right now I pay $10 a month and I've got 12 videos saved. And so what you do is you record your podcast. And if you guys want, I can tell you what I record the podcast with, because it's another awesome tool. I record it. I have a guy on Fiverr edit it for me, so I don't even have to spend time doing that. And then I just bring it up into Libsyn. And I'll just go into it. The UI of this is kind of cheesy, but you can see it's just really easy to come in and add a video. And then one thing that you really need to do is, as you're entering your video and you can get to the details, I always make sure that I say custom URL, and that's where I put in the show notes. So that's where I come over to like SEObits.fm and I grab this URL and I drop it in there, because then it's going to take that and it sends it out to to iTunes. And it sends it out to Google Play, because I've connected both of them. And then I've done a number of other services that are picking it up. And now I also have it connected as of this morning to YouTube. And if you're looking at what I record the podcast with, which is also a very cheap service, it's called Zencastr. I need to write a blog post about this now that I know what the heck I'm doing.
Yeah,
but this is also economical, and it's super easy to use. And here's something cool about this guy. So I did an interview with Sarah Dunn, and then I just did one with Sean from our SEO Launchpad group. And I set this Zencastr up. I send them a link, and they come in through their computer, and we don't need anything else. It picks up both feeds and it produces both feeds, audio feeds for me, and then they just need to be blended together, which takes 2 seconds.
Well, that's pretty amazing. So all those links.
You know what? There's a lot of tools out there, and that's why I kill myself, because I avoided podcasting and I avoided YouTube for so long. And I think it's because I just didn't know that there were all these tools out there available to us that are inexpensive. I mean, literally, because my son, he's 11, he goes, well, Mom, how much do you have to pay to do this podcast? And I'm like, honey, in all honesty, it's only like, $50 a month for all of the software tools I use. And then I pay my guy on Fiverr a little bit more to edit stuff. So it's really reasonably priced. If you've not considered podcasting and you've been hesitant about it, jump in. I know this isn't about podcasting, but it's, just don't be fearful of it like I was for so long.
Awesome. So all those links we've dropped in the chat room there for those of you asking. And one last resource question. John is asking, what is the name of the transcription service that you mentioned?
Oh, I think it's Rev, R-E-V. And if you Google Rev, you'll get some results at the beginning. It's usually one of the first 3. And I was taught about that from Chris Lema. And Rev, so here's what Rev can take, like videos that I've done. So Rev, I could upload this video once Nathan gives it to me of training, and it will transcribe the whole thing for me, and it charges you by the minute, and it's really cheap to do it. But then it also has an app on your phone, and I saw Chris Lemon do this in a restaurant. He was telling me something, and I looked at him, I'm like, okay, that's way too much for me to remember. And he said, hold on. He pulls out his phone, clicks on this app, he records like 5 minutes on this app, and he shoots it up to Rev, and Rev transcribed it for him and sent it to me in text.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, it's super, super cool. And it is you spend, like, once you get a long one, like an hour-long video, you might have to spend 3 or 4 minutes just fixing some common words that it gets wrong. Like it had a problem with SEO. When every time I kept saying it, I must have like a northern twang to it or something, and it was thinking that was something else. But for the most part, it is pretty spot on, and it's a great, really inexpensive tool.
Well, that would be great for client meetings.
Yes.
If you're doing training with clients, you could transcribe it. Anyhow,
and
let's get back to, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I've even had it where I've been in the car and I thought of a podcast idea, and instead of letting that podcast idea go, because of course, once I saw Chris download that app, I had to do it too. I hit the app, I recorded the podcast as I was driving in the car. I had it send it to me, and then I edited it, and then just went and re-recorded it really quick at home for the podcast. So it's got lots of different purposes you can use it for.
Very interesting. I think they're going to see a spike in their downloads here in the next hour. Okay, Alex is asking, and we have a bunch of questions here. Alex is asking, what about using 2 keywords in your video title? Is that good? So, for example, best pink widgets, parentheses, best 2017 pink widgets, close parentheses. He says he's seeing that sort of thing a lot.
So I'm sure it probably has value and it probably works. To me, that compromises the usability, so I wouldn't encourage it. When it becomes difficult for someone to read, I think that you have to be cautious about doing it. But that's just me. Are you going to get penalized for it? No, probably not.
Gotcha. A few people, Nix and Deb and Ben, all had similar questions about analytics on your YouTube page, and I saw you pulled some up there a minute ago. Can you show those again? Sure. And how can you see? Is there a way to track performance of a video after you've optimized the description and title?
It's not going to show you rank, like, are you ranking? But we can look at like traffic sources, go to YouTube search, and now we can see where I've shown up. So, like, remember I said that technical SEO video seems to be a little bit popular? Well, guess what? I mean, he's clearly showing up in traffic search, but look at the watch time. Right. So this goes to exactly what they say the metrics are. That watch time, right, was a big ranking factor. And that's because the watch time, people have watched it quite a bit. People stay with it. It's only had 15 views, but it's been 186 minutes. So that is helping me show up in YouTube search for technical SEO.
Interesting. And Ben's question was a little bit different. He's asking, is there any sort of website that is analyzing YouTube data in a bulk way and presenting it kind of like SEMrush does?
Not that I know of, but I do know that you can connect YouTube, your channel, to Google Analytics.
Got it. Let's see. Sarah. Oh, this is a great question from Sarah. She asks, when you're writing that 300 to 500 word description for the video, does it need to be unique? So, for example, if the video is a podcast, do you want to make sure that the same description is not being used on the podcast?
So in a utopian environment, yes, you would want it to be unique. But when you're like me and you have limited time, I just let it feed over. Right? If I had time, I would go back and update all of those descriptions for my podcast and make them 100% unique to YouTube, right? And really augment them because it's only bringing in that first paragraph.
Gotcha. Good advice. And by the way, if there are other questions, we still have several here, Rebecca, but if you have questions, please feel free to drop those in the live chat room located at ithemes.com/chat. I know several of you came in after we announced that URL, ithemes.com/chat. And please preface your question with the word question, and I'll uppercase. That way I can see it easier among the chat that's happening there. Okay, Alex asks, do you have anything to say or any hints about using AdSense with YouTube?
I don't, because if you recall, I always stay away from ads, and that means usually having ads on my sites and buying ads. So I'm sorry, I'm not the person to ask about that. But if you're asking if it's going to degrade your SEO, I'd be highly doubtful, because that's the way Google makes money, and YouTube.
Exactly. Okay, here's another good question from Costas. Costas asks, when you publish a blog post that contains a video, is it better to promote the blog post on your site or the video on YouTube?
I would do both. I would promote the blog post one day, I'd wait a week, and then I'd promote the video, or vice versa.
Right. So actually, Kat just asked a very similar question there in the chat room. So creating backlinks to your site or to YouTube, is there if you could only do one, Rebecca, what would you recommend?
If I could only do one, I would always do my site, because I control the destiny of that site, right? I own that content. I don't own YouTube. I don't own Facebook. They could go away tomorrow and everything I have there could be gone.
Exactly. Okay, so Kat asks, can you direct viewers to your website and your videos, or just place a website link in the description only? What do you recommend there?
Can I say that again? Can I direct what?
Yeah, I'm sorry. That when you're trying to send people to your website, you can put a link to your website in the description. Is that correct? Does that cause any issues?
Oh, no. Okay, so great question. Now that I understand it. Let me go.
That was my fault. I fumbled it a little bit.
No, you're fine. Good Lord, I got to get back to where I was at. Clearly, you can see I don't go in here as much as I should. Okay, so I have links here, right? There's 3 there, but there's a lot more when you hit my about. So all of these individual guys are links, and YouTube is bringing in the favicons and showing them automatically for me. Okay, so links there are great. Then when you look at my channel, you're going to see, let's see.
Come back to another one.
Oh, there you go, Nathan. We just heard you. So when you see, that was you, in individual videos, you can have links too, right? So sometimes I link over to the course if that's applicable. This one is one where you could get the free the knowledge graph course that I was offering. There's a lot of times, when I do the iThemes videos, I'll link over to iThemes training to say this is part of iThemes training. So you can have links in here too. And I encourage you to do it. If it's going to provide value to the visitor, you should have links for both, right? Or have links to both or 5 or whatever is going to be relevant. Link to those, because that's, that provides value. Did that answer the question? I think it did, but confirmation would be good.
I think so. Kat, did we get that question answered to your satisfaction there? Okay, so Kat is saying she doesn't think that YouTube allows you to say, visit my website, blah, 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 in the video. Can you only put it in the description?
No, you can actually do cards and stuff, and actually have call to actions inside your videos too. When you upload them, you can configure them to do that.
Gotcha.
If that was a rule, it would have been an old rule, because that's something that YouTube will send you kind of hints for and say, hey, add a card to your video, which means you can do a call to action at certain points within the video and try to get them to take action.
Gotcha. Okay, Lorraine has a question here, and this is an interesting one because I've heard this one as well, and she says, I've heard the recommendation of putting a popular and some, related to the subject matter video at the start of your playlist. Maybe it's not your own video, but, somebody else's video on the same topic. so that your playlist might get hit by people who are searching for that other person or thing. Any thoughts on that?
I don't see an issue with it. I personally wouldn't do it because I'm a little bit egocentric and this is my domain and my content. So I wouldn't want to do that. However, there's nothing wrong with it, right? You're not going to get penalized for it. And what I would say is if you want to try it out, pick one playlist and do it within that playlist and see how it goes. Test it. That's the beautiful part about SEO is you can test it, you can see what it does, and if you don't like the results, you can get rid of it.
Excellent. Folks, I'm down to my last question here, so if you have other questions that you haven't asked yet, please put those in the chat room at ithemes.com/chat, and we'll get those asked. Alex has this question. Will putting a link to your new blog post in your new video help the blog post be indexed faster or better and rank better? What do you think about that?
It certainly isn't going to hurt, right? So, and here's something that's a little tidbit for you. When Google Plus first came out, which was again a Google property, if you released a blog post and you went and shared it on Google Plus, it would get indexed within 6 seconds. Tested it. Had read about it and I tested it and I was like, holy snot, this really does work. 6 seconds. Well, that was a Google property. YouTube is a Google property. So I'm quite sure that, if you're sharing those links, it would definitely help you because it's an inbound link to your content, right? And as Google sits and crawls through, all of this information, it's going to be seen. And that, all of that's going to help you be faster indexed and also rank better.
Okay, so I've just put links to Rebecca's slides as well as the location where this video will be available later today as a replay in the chat room, so you can all access those. Mike is asking if there's only enough budget to invest in one tool or service subscription that would have the greatest impact on YouTube SEO, what would you recommend?
Gosh, I would tell you something that's going to help you create quality video. Right? Whatever that is, and by quality video, whether you're creating it yourself or you're repurposing stuff like I have, whatever that tool is, invest in it. I don't have, one to throw out at you because a lot of the tools that I'm using, the biddable one is the only really one that's specific to video. The other ones were kind of podcasting that I've morphed into video. So, but I mean, honestly, we all have different tools. Find your tool and spend the money on that. It's like, for me, SEMrush is expensive, but I can't live without it. That's my tool. Just find whatever works for you.
Gotcha. Brad is asking if you have any thoughts on YouTube versus Wistia for putting video on your website.
So people ask that a lot, and I'm not on the other one. I have a lot of clients who use that because they want to protect videos and things like that. But YouTube is much more well-known than Wistia. It is also a Google property. It is also the second largest search engine outside of Google. So if I'm going to pick one, I'm going to pick YouTube. Now, if I had time, I would repurpose this content on multiple video channels the same way I would do with my presentation slides. I just have limited capacity, and I really should hire an admin to do that for me. But, I would, without question, I would pick YouTube over anything else if I had to only pick one. But you don't have to only pick one. You can have your content in multiple outlets.
Very good. And a similar question, Guy asks about Facebook video versus YouTube. Which one's more important? Where should you upload your video first? Does that matter? What do you think about that?
So which is more important? I would ask you where your target market spends their time, right? So if your target market is primarily on Facebook and they really love Facebook Live and those, that type of presentation, then spend your time there. If they're not, if they're on YouTube, then dedicate it to YouTube. It doesn't hurt having content on both. And by the way, that repurpose app that I mentioned that I'll find the link for, that can actually import automatically also from Facebook and bring it over to YouTube. I'm telling you, it's a wicked app for being in beta.
That is pretty amazing.
I know.
Okay, folks, last call for questions. Get those in real quick, unless if there are no more, then we'll bring things to a close today. some
Well, and
really
we do appreciate you spending your summer day with us. I know that it's summer and summer's almost done and kids are going back to school, and I appreciate you taking time out of that to come and learn about, YouTube SEO and spend some time with us.
Yes, absolutely. Somebody's asking about the repurpose app, the location,
The what?
a URL for the repurpose app.
That's the one that I gotta find, and I gotta go dig it out from my expenses
Yeah,
because I just did it this afternoon. But I'll post. I swear, as soon as I find it, like will be like 5 minutes. I'll post it on the YouTube Launchpad in Facebook, or excuse me, the SEO Launchpad in Facebook, and then I'll try to tweet it out as well as my Twitter account.
Very good. And make sure you join Rebecca's Facebook group. That link is in the chat room. I'll go back and find that for you guys in a minute if you missed that link earlier. One last question here from Alex. Is it recommended to do subscriber exchanges or let people subscribe naturally?
So that's kind of like selling links and buying links. I do not ever buy things like that, right? I know people buy Instagram followers and Twitter followers and likes on Facebook, but I just feel that that's not the right way. A natural progression of subscribers and likes and followers is much more beneficial to you, I believe. And I think that the search engines, both YouTube's algorithm and Google's, is way too smart to be fooled for those mass purchases or those exchanges.
That's great advice. Well, okay, folks, again, like Rebecca said, we do greatly appreciate you spending your time with us today. Hopefully this has been a good hour of investment in your thought process about SEO and using YouTube in your SEO efforts. Thank you, Rebecca, for being with us and taking the time to give us a lot of information and talk through a lot of Q&A today. Again, all the links that we've talked about are there in the chat room today. The link to the video replay of this webinar, if you want to see it, I'm going to drop that in again there in the chat room. We should have that up here on iThemes Training later today. And a lot of free webinars, just like this one, coming up on iThemes Training. So check us out there at training.ithemes.com. Rebecca, any last words as we wrap up today?
What do we have on tap for next month? Because we have is it a schema, maybe?
That is a great question. Let's find out.
Let me look real quick if you don't have access to it.
I do. I just need to get it up on the
screen. Do you
here.
have webinar next month? Let me go to my calendar.
301 redirects is next month.
Oh, 301 redirects. That's a good one.
Yep. So make sure you sign up. Rebecca is scheduled through the end of the year with us, and we're working on the schedule for 2018 as well. So be sure to sign up for all of Rebecca's webinars. There's a lot of other ones there as well. If those interest you, we'd love to have you back on more iThemes Training webinars. And Rebecca, we're looking forward to another year of you in 2018.
Thank you. We'll be back.
All right, folks. Well, have a great rest of the week. Once again, thanks for being with us today, and hopefully you can get some traction on your YouTube videos, both for yourself and for your clients. This, by the way, if you're a WordPress freelance business owner, this is a great service to offer to your clients. Once you figure out how to optimize those videos, reach out to your clients and offer this as a service to them to help them get some videos better optimized and better, more findable there on YouTube. So lots of great stuff today. Thanks again, Rebecca. Thanks to all you folks, and we will see you next time here on iThemes Training. Have a great rest of the week.